cut its fucking head off.
Welcome to the second episode of the Sudden But Inevitable podcast, hosted by The Last Reviewer. I'm Eamon, and joining me today is Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Pretty well yourself, Eamon?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. So today, I believe it's the second last episode of Oats Volume 1 was released by the name of Zygote. Kind of a sci-fi horror thing vibes deal going on. What is Oats?
Oats, from what I understand, is Neill Blomkamp's next career move. So he's started this studio and with it an effects company, and I believe all these other subsidiaries of Oats Studios. And so he is directing a whole bunch of short films, most of which are alien themed because he likes aliens. And there's also these short films called Cooking with Bill that I don't understand, frankly. What about you? What do you know about that I don't?
What I do know is it's all for free. They're giving it. You can purchase it on Steam, getting access to like the 3D files, the scripts, the music, all that kind of stuff. And from what I understand is because there's not a whole lot of information about it. Lots of it in interviews and stuff with Neill. But my understanding is the end game is that one of their ideas gets enough positive reception and they've made enough money that they take that concept and turn it into a feature film. Which is an interesting idea, but I feel like a lot of these ideas work better within the one-shot format.
I feel like a lot of them do, but then again, there's some that I want full films of, like the one. What was the first one called? Raqqa. Interesting one. And it feels like the first 20 or 30 minutes of a movie. But the fact that they're selling all the assets on the Steam store suggests to me that they actually want people to kind of expand the universe a little bit.
Oh, Neill has said that part of that is he wants to see fan films and all that kind of stuff coming from it. He had an idea, and this may happen yet, but one of his ideas was to release a puppet show without any dialogue. The idea being that people could purchase this puppet show with really high quality weird Muppets, I imagine, and put their own dialogue in and chop it together how they like, kind of create their own deranged Muppet. Because let's be honest, anything that he makes is not going to be weird. He's not going to make Kermit the Frog. He's going to make Kermit the Frog with 1,000 eyes and 8 arms. But I mean, overall, what do you think of them as Oats, as it stands today? What do you think of the films on their own as a whole?
I think they're really weird, and I feel like I have to disagree with you to some degree on the fact that you think these concepts stand well on their own in short films. Because, as I said, Raqqa feels like the first 20 or 30 minutes of a film. And the one we watched today feels like the last 20 or 30 minutes of Alien. It really is Alien turned into a short film, but with a different concept. So I'm enjoying the films, especially Cooking with Bill, even though that's the part of it I least understand why they're doing it, what is going on there. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, but I want to see these concepts moved. I want to see these concepts used more and expanded upon. So, kind of like Neill Blomkamp, I want to see these fan films.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as far as them working only as shorts, like I don't see how, at least within the universe that they've established within these shorts, like particularly with the first one with Raqqa, I don't know how they would expand that into a full-length film. I can see the second one, the Firebase, working as a full-length film about this guy who gets this fancy suit of armor and goes hunting this crazy Vietnamese man with special powers. which kind of like the plot to The Watchmen almost, alternate history Vietnam with superpowers. I mean, I would love to see Cooking with Bill as a TV show. And if you don't know, Cooking with Bill is like, what is it, like a 80s style, 90s style? Hang on.
Yeah, it's a series of infomercial style 4-minute films, which has the most TV 2 characters of all time. Like, you've got Bill with a toothy smile, and he's a bit of a family man. He's not great at cooking. And you've got your typical smiley model who's there just to press the button in a sexual way. And it's, well, besides absolutely nailing the style they're going for, it's fun to watch them do these parodies of infomercials, basically.
The way it is parody, though, is the best part. Because, usually you finish up, you put your food in the machine and you cook it and it comes out as food. But on Cooking with Bill, I mean, technically it's food. Sushi with hair running through the middle, or you put vegetables into a machine and it comes out as a pig corpse. It's weird. It's very strange. But I feel like you could take that concept of this guy living in cooking TV hell and turn it into I'm not thinking like an actual, storytelling thing, but something kind of like Black Mirror. And I feel like that could also work with the Oats Studios as a whole, if Netflix picked it up or something. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I feel like Black Mirror is very much its own technology-based thing. But the anthology thing is kind of what they're doing already, just with their own genre. Neill Blomkamp has almost always worked with movies. So he doesn't... It's clear he's not entirely sure what to do with these short films. But yeah, if you got someone else to work with Neill Blomkamp to adapt it into a TV show, whether it's Cooking with Bill or the actual other concepts, I feel like it could work really well.
I think one of the best parts about it is the effects. The melding of the practical and the digital, and the wholly digital things and the wholly practical things. And I don't know if you know this, but Bill in Cooking with Bill is the head of Amalgamated Dynamics Industries, who is a US-based effects company. They did the effects for Aliens 3 through AVP Resurrection. They've done basically any movie monster with a practical monster that came out in like the past 20 years. They probably had their hands in it somewhere. So I feel like it's kind of cool to see him, in there with Neill. And Neill Blomkamp's always got great visual effects in his movies. Since District 9 through to Chappie, and now with Oats, everything looks, I guess, real, like grounded in the world.
Yeah, the effects are absolutely wonderful in Oats Studios. But it's funny that you should say that this company that he runs has their hands in every effect, because there were probably quite a few hands of theirs in their new what's this one called, the latest one? Zygote. I can never remember the names of these films. They're such weird ones. Firebase is probably the most normal of them all, and that tells you something.
I mean, I know they're planning to do a second volume when this first volume finishes up. There's a fourth full-length short coming out. It's called Lima at some point. Not even Neill knows when it's coming out. So either they're still working on it or they're deciding where they're going from here. What they've said about Volume 2 kind of worries me a bit, because I feel like a big part of the appeal of this first volume is that it is free. I don't think I would pay money just to watch the videos. And they're saying, they may not release Volume 2 for free. It may be, you pay once to get access. What do you think about that?
Yeah, unless it's like Parks and Rec, which Season 1 was 6 episodes, and the other seasons were 20+. So season 1 wasn't really a season. It was more of a preview of the show to come. Even though it still worked like TV. So unless they do that, and they're previewing what's to come for Oats, in volume 2 and 3 or whatever else, I don't think I'd pay for it. I would probably end up paying for it one day on sale because I have been enjoying them. But yeah, I don't think it works like that. I think I've clarified that my favourite Oats is Bill, Cooking with Bill. Just because it's so lighthearted and fun. But my favourite short film is Zygote, which was released today. I just love the monster in that. But I'm not sure at all what is your favourite film.
My favourite is Firebase. It's not necessarily the best. I feel like Zygote is probably the best storytelling-wise, because it doesn't rely on as much exposition and narration as Firebase and Raka, but I just love the concept of this guy who is hunting down what is essentially a god in an alternate history Vietnam War. Particularly, it's got to be the biggest cliffhanger ending ever. Like, he gets this new suit of armor and he's stepping out to do battle with a god, and it just ends. I mean, I feel like if they announced sequels or like extensions to these longer shorts for Volume 2, I would be more likely to buy it than if it was just more random ones, just to see what happens. Or even if it was like the same amount of content, like in terms of number of videos, but like twice as long or something. I feel like that would lean me over towards... But it's definitely got to... I mean, we need more content before we start paying, or at least knowing what content we're going to get before it's released.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like you may have been right about being adapted into a Black Mirror TV show. Because, yeah, I don't think I would pay for it unless it was sequels or extensions to these movies. And usually, we're not the biggest fan of sequels. There are some movies that definitely deserve sequels, and some sequels that work really well. But, yeah, generally, we try and avoid franchises and that sort of thing because they're just money machines. But I want more. I want more of what I've seen.
I mean, my thoughts on Oats as a whole, as it stands, I mean, unless they release some really excellent content, like, not full length, but like stories that have like a natural progression, beginning, middle, and end. They're not just kind of bits from the middle of something. Because, they do have more stuff coming out this year to finish up this first volume. I would say so far it's been, I don't know if I'd call it great, more so interesting. It's been kind of weird seeing how they've tackled all these different ways of approaching things. I mean, I feel like Oats Studios definitely has the potential to go somewhere in terms of their effects, both practical and digital. I mean, these guys could quite easily become the new ILM, the new Weta, if they've got, especially if one of these films gets adapted into a feature and they do it. What do you think about them becoming their own big production studio?
As long as they keep up the quality, then absolutely, because I know it's a Neill Blomkamp studio, but for a small studio still, it's some amazing effects. Especially this last episode where the monster is just one of the greatest special effects I've seen recently, I think. You're always unsure what's visual and what's practical effects, because it blends so well. They do so well with it. So I'd love to see them do full studios, full movies, that is. I'd love if they were used by more people to bring a bit more oomph to the films, to bring a bit more gross to... You know what I mean? A bit more style.
I mean, I feel like, particularly with effects and this new Zygote film basically being Alien but with more arms, and Neill Blomkamp, it's worth mentioning, after seeing these shorts, Neill Blomkamp was planning to do Alien 5, and that got canned. Nobody's quite sure why. It's maybe because Ridley Scott said he didn't like it, maybe because Neill Blomkamp was doing stuff that they didn't like. Would you like to see, after seeing these, would you like to see Neill Blomkamp's Alien 5?
Well, we've already seen him work with Sigourney, because she was in one of these. And she did mighty fine, of course, because she always stars in sci-fi. Although, how sick do you think Sigourney is of sci-fi these days?
Probably pretty sick of it. I feel like she needs an Academy Award for something more serious.
Yeah, but if... we've just seen the retelling of Alien 1, so if that was his entry in the Alien franchise, that's not what I want, because we've seen that twice now. But if he could do an original story within the Alien universe, yeah, I think that would work really well. Just not Prometheus, please.
We don't want another Prometheus, please. Please. Ridley Scott, if you happen to be listening, you probably should be. Don't screw up the next Alien movie, because you already did that twice. I think that about wraps it up for Oats. Is there anything else you want to talk about this week?
Well, I think we went on YouTube just before and saw a new movie that I don't think either of us have heard of before. A trailer for a new movie, that is, called 12 Feet Deep. And I believe Eamon has quite a few opinions on this, but the story basically is that these two sisters, they're going for a swim, I guess, at the community pool, and then they decide to race, and so they go underwater, and someone locks up the pool, so they put over the fiberglass cover and everything, and they're stuck underneath. And then the janitor comes and apparently takes advantage of the situation.
I mean, the janitor coming in and taking advantage of the situation is something we had to look up after seeing the trailer, because it's not in the trailer. The trailer just depicts two people trapped in a swimming pool. And I feel like the name 12 Feet Deep, where's the shallow end at? Like, that's like 3 feet deep. You can just stand, and it's like, oh, maybe they'll get cold overnight. Whatever. It's probably a heated pool. They can just pee in the water. I feel like somebody thought this was a really good idea if it had piranhas in it, but then they couldn't afford piranhas.
Yeah. I don't know about piranhas, but I feel like this is definitely somebody's passion project, like a writer who decided, oh, what if this happened, and what if this happened, and they managed to get the budget to hire a director, to get a studio behind it, and hire 6 actors. Because I swear there can't be more than 6, and 6 is the number of actors we counted on the IMDb or whatever we looked at. Because there's no one in the film. It's about 2 girls being trapped in a swimming pool. There's maybe extras.
I mean, I'm almost definitely going to go see this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want it to be terrible, and I feel like deep down we all know that this movie is terrible. There's another movie which I think comes out recently. I believe it's called 47 Feet Down, which is not exactly the same concept, but it's about 2 sisters who are trapped in a shark cage 47 meters below the sea, 47 feet below the surface, and there's sharks around them or something. So I feel like somebody saw the trailer for that and said, swimming pool.
Or this is the next attempt at a cinematic universe. Getting trapped so many feet underwater cinematic universe. It's probably the least interesting idea. Like, I would watch the entire Universal Dark Universe instead of having to watch through a trapped underwater cinematic universe.
I mean, the entire Dark Universe isn't terrible. It's just the Mummy. It can only go up from there, right? I hope. But yeah, I can just see, next up it's Kiddie Pool, 3 feet below, and it's just a story about somebody who accidentally flipped their kiddie pool upside down and they just can't get out. And they're just trapped screaming for help and nobody finds them until like 15 minutes later the dog comes over and pushes the pool open. Like, we're free, It's going to be terrible. This is not going anywhere good. 12 feet deep. Don't go watch it.
Have you seen any other interesting trailers recently?
Not really. They keep doing these advertising trailers for Kingsman 2. There was one advertising the whiskey. There was one released a couple of days ago about how you can buy the suits. And this is not something I've seen before in terms of advertising your products within trailers. I know they hyped it up. I believe it was either with the Blu-rays or the HD DVDs back when that was a thing, that you could buy stuff from the movie, like as you're watching it. But I feel like advertising in trailers is going somewhere we don't really want to go.
Yeah, the fact that I go and see all these trailers because I'm interested to see whatever they introduce, or maybe find out something new about this movie that we honestly don't know anything about the plot, really, means that I'm seeing the same mini trailer at the start every time, and then information that I don't care about, frankly, and then the same trailer that we've all seen a million times with the strings music at the start, and then the "I did it my way" at the end. And honestly, I'm just sick of that trailer now. I'm gonna see the movie because Kingsman 1 was fantastic, but I'll be glad when it's over.
The mini trailers before the trailer, where it's like a 10-second clip, they're a plague. I don't know why. Whoever thought it was like, oh, let's just play like half a second of footage before somebody watches the minute-long trailer. Why? And another thing that I hate is the teasers. So like the trailer's coming out tomorrow, so here, have like 10 seconds of footage. Ooh, get you excited.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but teasers have always existed. And the way Kingsman 2 did it with like a frame by frame, they just showed lots and lots of images of... I think they said in the text at the start of that trailer, here's the full movie, super fast. And so, you've got people breaking it down, even though they just have to wait one day to see more. But, yeah, you've got people examining every single frame of the teaser. So that was kind of interesting. But, yeah, I feel like this entire cinema world is getting bloated with ads and, autofellatio.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it was indeed the whole movie in that trailer. There's people sitting there who have slowed it down to like 2,000 frames per second, and they've seen the whole movie. It's taken them like 6 hours to watch it, but they know what's happening. Yeah, I feel like that was kind of neat how they just sped everything up. But yeah, teasers for teasers. Teasers for teasers for teasers. That's a thing. I think they did that for Spider-Man. They do it a lot for the Marvel movies. Yeah, aside from trailers, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I haven't really had time since the last podcast to catch up with new news in the movie universe. What about you?
I mean, I just wanted to throw it out there. Next week, Dunkirk comes out. So up until then, I'm going to be releasing a new review every day on some of my favourite World War II movies. The Road to Dunkirk is what I'm calling it. So if you've ever seen Kelly's Heroes, Saving Private Ryan, any films like that, keep an eye on the page.
And if you enjoyed last week's podcast, I've written a review of Spider-Man now, and it's up on the site. It's got a really boring title because I didn't really want a pun, so I just kind of gave up on trying to name it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this mini podcast, which is a new experiment we're trying. And we'll talk to you next week.
This was our own little Oats. Catch you around.